This is Hap from Hapless Security, and this afternoon I have a beautiful lock for you. This is an American 7300 series. It's a very nice solid steel padlock, super beefy. I mean, it's quite sizable. You compare it to something like an 1100, and you can see there's a significant difference in both shackle size and body size. And of course this is an aluminum lock, whereas this is a nice heavy steel lock. So really nice lock, really nice solid steel shackle. In fact, it's let's take a look here. It looks about 12 millimeters. No, 11 millimeters. But yeah, big body too. And something very interesting about this particular lock is that it is actually a tubular lock. See the tubular key? Very unusual and rare these days. Tubular locks, of course, are considered very low security. Although, since this is, I can't read the date code, but it's in extremely good shape, so I'm going to assume this is a relatively recent lock. And so I'm hoping that this tubular lock is actually I haven't picked this one yet, so I don't know, is a upgraded one with varying spring pressures, and maybe a security pin or two would be nice. But in order to find that out, we're going to do the quickest thing, which is to use a tubular lock picking tool. I don't use this very much anymore. This is a Southard one. I used to use it quite frequently, but on penetration tests, but you don't see many of them anymore. But this is actually great. This is almost a self-picking tool, and it's been around for quite a long time. They're not that expensive. They run about $30–40. And the way you do it is you use this free-floating washer to push all of these pins down, and then you flatten them out on some sort of hard surface. Boink. And then what it does is it will replicate an uncut key. Now, this chuck on it, if you tighten it up a little bit, puts pressure on these, so they don't want to move unless they're under great pressure. So that pressure is exerted by impressioning, by putting this in the keyhole. You can see it's got a little internal pin on it. That pin goes into that notch and turns the core. So you pop them in here, and then you give it a little rotation. And if you look at these pins up here, you will notice that they are going to different heights. And that's because this lock is picking. And after a few seconds, we have her open. Doesn't take long with these. Now, the cool thing about this is that you can actually tighten this up even more, so it locks it into place, and what you end up with is an actual key. So I'm going to lock that again, and I'm going to put this in here, turn it back. Whoops. There we go. And I'm going to use this just like a key and open the lock. It stays a key while that's permanently locked. Now, something you'll notice though is that because this key, the actual key, has this little tab on it, this is actually the retention tab, it only allows you to pull the key out when you are lined up with that notch. But as you see, we have unaligned to that notch because this doesn't have that little tab on it. It's smooth. So after you've used this to pick the lock, it's actually in a position where you can no longer use this key. It just doesn't go in. So you always have to pick it back until it lines up with that notch, so that you can still use the key again. Make sense? The other thing is that you notice that this only went, what, about 90 degrees, I think, to unlock it? Yeah, not even, actually. It's not even 90 degrees. It's man, that's like 70 degrees, I guess. It doesn't take much to unlock it, but it's at least a couple of ticks. So you can see, we can actually, we can pick it once. So if you're picking this manually, you would, suddenly this thing doesn't want to work. There we go. You can pick it. Just picked it totally back. There we go. You can pick it once, and you'll see there's a pin now sticking up. Where are we there? See, there's a pin now sticking up in that notch. because we picked it one click. So if you're manually picking this without one of these tools, you'd now have to re-pick it again one more time to get it to actually unlock. Now, we can take this apart, and I'm actually going to do that because I'm curious what the actuator and so forth looks like in one of these. Let's pick her back to normal there. There we go. So, let's grab our screwdrivers. What do we need here? Looks like a Phillips. So let's get a Phillips. Let's take it apart. We can actually hit that screw. Oh! Oh! It's been Loctited in, I think. Okay, I don't want to screw up my lovely Veras, so, or Veras, as they are often called. So I'm actually going to grab a beefier screwdriver. Pardon me while I get up and wander over to the bench. Wander over my bag. Grab a beefier screwdriver. Let's hope this is long enough to get down there. We'll find out. Is this long enough to get down there? No, it's not. Okay. So, let us look for a longer handle. I think I have a longer handle here somewhere. Oh, just knocking stuff all over the place. Alright. Let's find our biggest Phillips. I think it's this one. Okay, so this is a narrower screwdriver with a longer shaft. Oh, there we go. That worked. Whew, yeah, she's got some Loctite on it. The way these work is you undo the screw down the shackle hole. The screw pops out. Oh yeah, there's the Loctite. And then this nut pops off, and you see it's got a little wings on it. And those wings grip into the side of this hardened plate. And the plate just drops off, has a little tab on the other side to keep it out, and there's your core. And then the core drops out. In theory, there we are. Okay, so it's just a regular American actuator on the inside, but it has this really cool, oh, this is greasy. It has this really cool core. Wow. Okay, so is that a detent or is that actually an alignment pin on there? I think it's an alignment pin. I think it aligns with this groove cut in here. Some interesting milling going on inside here. Normally this is all cut away and you can put in a core with a Bible in it, but this is actually purpose built for a tubular lock. So let's see, what are we looking at here? Okay, looks like there's a... Oh, we may not be able to get this apart. Because I think that actually is a pin that's been pinned into place to hold the core in. And I am not prepared to disassemble that. Is that what I'm looking at here? Yeah, I think that's what I'm looking at here. This appears to be press fit, the base plate. And that pin is probably pressing that base plate in. It's probably a sleeve that actually comes down here. Pin holds the sleeve in, and then the core is retained. So yeah, don't think this is actually getting disassembled. I think this is a one-time dealie. So, yeah, and you'll notice that that pin actually aligns with the unlock state for that tail piece. So that tail piece does actually align with the locking lug, or the locking pawl, and the that little notch cut into it. So that is where that goes. And look at that, she fits right down in there. So the reassemble process is exactly the same. You pop that on, you take this little nut, and you pop it on. You notice it doesn't go down until you rotate it until those little wings pop in. And then you can drop this screw in until it goes down the hole. Actually get your screwdriver into the screw threads, there we go. And then you screw her back shut. Tighten her up. And there you go. You have a lock again. By the way, never do what I just did, which is lock a lock that you've just disassembled before trying it with the key, because if you do that, then you'll never be able to undo it. So fortunately, this worked. But if you are ever taking a lock apart and you've put the core back in and you haven't tested the core with a key, don't lock the shackle right away. Test it with a key. Make sure it actually does something. And the way you do that is you look down the core and you look to see the ball bearings retracting, which they won't unless this is actually aligned properly. So make sure it actually unlocks the lock. Otherwise, you'll have to cut that open. Anyhow, that's all I have for today. Thanks a lot, folks, and happy picking.